Hello, I'm Claire. Welcome to my channel, Clarobobbins, and this is a pattern review from the opinion of a Busty Sewist. So if you're a Busty Sewist, if you'd like to be a Busty Sewist, if you have any difficulty at all fitting your clothing because of your ample endowments, should we say, then this could be for you. I'm saying this with a smile on my face. Anybody that's watched my video, my channel for any length of time will know that I prefer patterns that are designed for full busted figure. That's probably the polite way of saying it. I'm very much a rectangle with boobs. I don't go in very much tall at the waist, a little bit, but I don't come out very much tall at the hips. So my figure's quite boyish in that sense, but then I have quite an ample bust. So my, I don't really need to go into sizes as such, but the difference I have between my high bust measurement and my full bust measurement is 6 inches. So, and if you think a D cup is 4-inch difference, then that gives you some idea of some of the difficulty I can have for getting things to fit me and them not looking tent-like. So I sewed, if you've watched me at all, if you haven't seen the video where I did the Fabric Wheel of Fate fern top with this stash fabric, so it's a stash busting challenge, and I will pop a link to this video so you can go back and have a look if you wish. So this was a recent make. I made this last week, I think, early last week, about a week ago, and it was suggested to me by the lovely Linda Marie, one of my subscribers, and it's a really lovely pattern, I have to say that. So a little bit about the pattern. It's designed by Pattern Scout. It's the fern top, which is one of their earlier patterns. I'll pop a picture of this so you see it in a little bit more detail. It is quite a size inclusive pattern. It goes up to a size 30, 0 to size 30, and they are American sizes. I have to say they're not, I didn't find them as, size-wise, I didn't find them as ample, as generous in fit as cashmerette sizes, which is cashmerette are my go-to. My sloper is a cashmerette sloper. They're US sizing. They size up to a GH bust, but I still have to do a full bust adjustment. Not a big one, but a small full bust adjustment to get a good fit with my size 14 top. So I have a number of different strategies that help me to fit tops. One of them is using my cashmerette sloper, and I have that just here, just to give you an idea. It's darted sloper, has a bust and a waist dart. I don't usually bother with the waist dart. I can use the waist dart, but often, you know, my waist is quite it's quite large, so I don't need to worry too much about the waist dart. I am bigger, if we use half size measurements, I'm larger at the front than the back. My back's quite narrow, my shoulders are quite narrow. So you can see, you know, this is quite a generous dart. There are no seam allowances on my sloper. Now, Jenny Rushmore from Cashmerette does a marvellous little video, how-to technique video, on how to convert this darted bodice to a princess seam sloper bodice, and I need to do that for this. I've watched her do it, but I haven't actually done it. And she converts it to the princess seam sloper and then back out from the princess seam sloper to this pattern. And I need to do that because if I'd had a princess seam sloper, I think it would have been much easier fitting the fern top, because you can see that it's made in panels, And although it's not a pure princess seam, it's kind of a mock princess seam, because it runs where a princess seam could do. And I think it would have been much easier to adjust and see where I needed to add fullness. The very fact that I didn't want to spoil this front stripy panel made it quite tricky fitting the pattern, and also I didn't do a toile. This is kind of the toile, so to speak. So I chose to go up. I did quite a lot of comparison between the sizing for your body measurements, the finished garment measurements, and my sloper and equivalent cashmerette measurements, and I decided I would go for a size 16 as opposed to a size 14. I was well aware I would have to do a full bust adjustment, and I did do that. And if I show you the, where is it? There we go. That's the, oh, there we go. There it is. So this, excuse my brown tape. Again, if you know me, you'll know that I use recyclable tape. So if I finish with a pattern, it can just go in the recycling. I don't use any plastic. So it's natural gummed tape, but it's a bit brown. So it can look a bit unsightly. So it's an unusual kind of top heavy pattern because of the peplum. I have to say, it is a lovely pattern to make. And it's very straightforward. It's beautifully written. The instructions are very clear, and there was also video support, which I didn't need, to be honest. I would say, you know, an adventurous beginner could make this. I didn't do any French seaming because of the pleating and the constructions. I decided just to go down, and also I thought I might have to do some seam allowance adjusting, and with not doing a toile, I thought that would just give me a bit of flexibility, whereas if you French seam something, that's it really, without too lots of unpicking, so which I really didn't want. So this is my front bodice. This is the dart here, and I added, and you won't be able to see that, I added a 1/2 inch full bust adjustment there, and I sized up. Now this is the D cup piece, so I was adding a full inch at the front to take it to an E cup, but I'd cut the size 16, which I was hoping that would give me that little bit of extra wiggle room, but actually it was nowhere near enough, and really I ought to have known better. If we compare this tiny dart with the size of my sloper dart, you know, I really ought to know better. But I really did think that I might have struggled to get the shape I needed here if I put a bigger dart in. So what I ended up doing was pinching some fullness from this front seam on both sides to ease that out. Now what I would say is patterns that are not cashmerette patterns, so all of the patterns I've tried so far, and I have yet to sew up a Sinclair pattern. They do full bust up to EF. I've got one being printed at the moment. I'm going to be doing the new Jenna caftan, and I'm going to be doing that using their EF bust front, and we'll see how that goes. I'm sure I'll have to do a full bust adjustment on that, but this is only the second pattern Scout top I've made, and the other one I did do a small full bust adjustment on it, and I didn't have any problem with, I did a 16 again, didn't have any problem with the fit, so I was kind of using that knowledge to work with this, but it was a little vest, and I think probably because it was a vest without any sleeves or anything, there was probably a little bit more room for manoeuvre in that I didn't, you know, the arm side, it was just really a front panel and then button down the front. I had a little bit of wiggle room with the button alignment, and and also the fact that there was no fabric over here made it much easier fitting the vest. Now I can't just remember the name of the vest. It's a lovely vest. I would recommend it. It's a really nice pattern. So I was fairly confident I'd get a reasonable fit, and I think I have, but I did have to pinch quite a bit out of the front seam. And I just want to show you, I find that with cashmerette, a lot of their pieces are really curved. So this side seam, even before the dart, it is really curved, and the back bodice as well on the sloper is really curved. And I find that other pattern companies, and I've done a few recently, their pieces are really straight, and I'm not at all straight. You know, this bit here, it's just almost straight down. It's a tiny angle there. There's a little bit of a curve here, but the rest of the pieces are really straight, like here. Now my cashmerette one comes out here and there's a curve, and I think there just isn't enough. Oh, they're facing, so that's it. It's quite simple, not too many pieces. When you're printing this off, there are 21 pieces, and it works out at about 33 pieces with the full bust ones, which you can just select from to do the bits you need. So it's very doable on a regular printer, sticking together if you don't have it printed at AO. I just sent a load of stuff off for AO printing, and I've not used lots of AO printing before, but I'd done so many new projects, and I had so many new projects kind of on the go. I thought, oh, I'm going to treat myself and have them printed. There were big things as well, trousers and dresses, and quite full dresses, so there'd have been quite a lot to stick together and cut out. So I've just had them printed in one size, and we'll go from there. So you have the options with this pattern to fit the sleeve cuff or not. It's really cleverly designed. It's a single piece, so it's self-faced, and I have the pattern piece here to show you. I really liked the way it went together. Apart from fitting my full bust, I had no issues at all with the rest of the pattern. Why can you never find the bit you want? Oh, there it is. It just looks bigger. But it's just a piece with a V there and a V there, and it makes it self-facing. I really like the way you can play around with stripes with the pattern because of the shape. The peplum is the same front and back, and it just has this little pleat here and here, which again works well with stripes. So I did the vertical stripes there, the horizontal stripes at the front. The back, I just matched the stripes, so we had this lovely continuous line through the stripes, and then you get a little bit of detail again from the peplum. I think the sleeves hang quite nicely. I will be popping some stills of me wearing the fern top up. You'll have seen them if you watched the Fabric Wheel of Fate video, but I'll pop the stills up and you can see how it looks on me, and I think I've achieved a reasonable fit. What I'll do now is I'll just pause you for a second, and I'll take this off the mannequin, and I will just show you where it's a 1.5 centimetre 5/8 seam allowance, which does give lots of room to do a little bit of shaping, and that's what I did to get a better shape through here. So I did unpick it a couple of times and just pinch a little bit there in that seam. I didn't need to do anything on the back. I just needed to ease it over the bust line to create more of a curve here. Now I think particularly cashmerette patterns, they do have a more distinct curve there, certainly in their knit patterns, but also in their darted patterns. So I will just pop this off here. You'll see me in just a moment. Okay, so you're back to me again. So this is the inside out version of the top, and you can see the sewing detail of the seams here. So this is, even right from the top, I took a slightly smaller seam allowance than was recommended, and here I've graded it in, so I've gone in almost all the way to the overlocking, to just give some fullness. I did move the bust dart down a little bit. I didn't need to move it as much as I do on cashmerette. They seem to be to have a shorter waist. But I did adjust the bust dart slightly to move it. I usually have to move it 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch with cashmerette patterns, depending on the pattern. And I had to just move it 1/2 inch on this. So I think the dart hits me at quite a good place on my figure, and so my bust apex is about here, and this is where the maximum amount I took out of that seam, and of course the one on the other side. It has a front and back facing, and I just used a white viscose challis, and I did the interfacing with the turning under and stitching before you iron the facing together, so getting a really clean edge to that. Again, there's I do a video on facing a facing, so if you want to look at that, you'll see it in my channel content. I can't put a second link up, I'm afraid. It'll only let me do one link on the video, and I've already linked to the Fabric Wheel of Fate video. But do have a look if you're interested in how to do a clean finish facing a facing. There's also videos on the cashmerette website if you're a club member, because they use that technique for their finishing too. So you can see the little box pleats on the peplum. Everything else I did pretty much as per the pattern. I did press my dart down. Normally I would press my dart up. Edith isn't quite the same shape as me yet. I need to pad her out, so the bust point isn't in quite the right place or anything. She needs a bit of work. Just been too busy to do it. So yeah, so there we are. I don't know if that's interesting for you. I don't know if that's helpful for you. So what did I think of the pattern overall? There is a little bit of creasing just here around the bust, and I think that's just inevitable because of the lack of shaping here. And I think had I got a princess seam sloper, I perhaps could have altered the pattern a little bit more. And if I make it again, and it's a lovely pattern, I probably will make it again, I will probably attempt to do that and give a bit more fullness here so that I don't have to have such a big dart. And I think that way I could just get a nicer shape here. I think it would hang even better. But I'm pleased with it. It's nice to wear. I feel like it looks quite dressy. Lovely to wear with trousers. Be nice with white trousers. Don't have any nice white trousers at the moment. I need to make some. But yes, very pleased with it. It is, as I say, quite an inclusive pattern. It goes from 0 to size 30, and it takes the fabric required. This was a 60-inch fabric, and it takes, in the sizes 0 to 12, it takes 1.15 meters or 1.25 yards. And in the size range I did, which was a 14 to 30, it takes a 1.15 yards or 1.4 meters. If you have a fabric that's only 45 inches wide or 115 centimeters, then you need 1.6 meters or 1.75 yards for the smaller size range, and for that's 0 to 12, and for the 14 to 30 you need 1.8 meters or 2 yards.
Now that's for version A, which is the straight peplum. For version B, I beg your pardon, no it's not, that's version A is this version. Version B has no sleeve facing and no peplums in the skirt. You need a little less fabric, 1.25 yards, 1.15 metres for the 45-inch or 115 centimetre wide fabric, and that's for the size 0 to 12 size. For the 14 to 30 size you need 1.75 yards or 1.6 metres. And then the 54-inch is obviously less. The smaller size range, 1.25 yards or 1.15 metres, and the larger size range, 14 to 30, 1.5 yards or 1.4 metres. The pattern, all of the sizes are included in the same pattern. However, there is an expansion pack which I did buy and which I did make. So the expansion pack, and I think that was an extra £4 something, it wasn't a lot, but there is an extra charge for the expansion pack, and it gives you the extra pieces for the square neckline, and I wasn't sure how well that would suit me. I was really interested in doing it because of the stripes across the front, but I just thought I might get gaping. I'm not very experienced making a square neckline. I tend to go for a scoop neckline, or my preference is a V neckline, because I know a V neckline is more flattering for a full bust. And I just didn't want to start with this one because I knew the amount of fabric I had was limited, and I really needed to get a good result for the fabric Wheel of Fate. So the expansion pack gives you the option for the square neckline and the option for the V neckline, and I will put photographs of that up so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. So there aren't many pieces to print off for that. But all of the sizing and yardage is included in the full pattern. So it's just the extra pieces, pattern pieces, the extra front and side for the V-neck and the square neck. So that's the expansion pack. And I think when I bought this fern top and the expansion pack, they were in the sale. I don't know if it's still on sale. It's one of the older patterns, so I don't know if it's still on sale or whether that has come to an end. I only bought it a couple of weeks ago, and I bought it just for this particular project. So what did I think, and would I make it again? Yes, I would make it again. Yeah, a successful make, I think. And an enjoyable make, and I'm very pleased with it, and it will get worn lots. So there we go, that's my pattern review. Let me know please if it's useful below in the comments. I'd really like to know whether that's the type of thing that you would like to see me do. Is there anything else you'd like me to cover? Is sewing for the full bust something you're interested in? Yeah, let me know. What are your experiences of sewing for a full bust, and what are your favourite patterns? Yeah, be interesting to know. I'm always keen to hear how I can make it a little bit easier to get things to fit, and be more successful with my sewing. So every day's a school day. Thank you so much, Linda Marie, for the recommendation of this pattern. Very pleased with it, really enjoyed making it, very pleased with that lovely detail with the horizontal stripe at the front. I think that's really good. And that's me done for today. So do please let me know what you think in the comments box below, and I shall look forward to reading what you have to say there. Hope you'll join me later in the week for Friday Sews, and until then, have a great week, and I shall see you soon. Bye bye.